Man, whew. You know, you shared personal experience. You know, thank you for sharing. Marcus, you highlighted on something, the previous question about sitting in front of the television and, you know, life had to slow down, you had to see it. And Chukundi, you talked about that filter. 2020 didn't have a filter.
Right.
How do you feel that it has affected us as Black men in our communities?
Pretty heavy question.
Yeah. You know, I just would say, yeah, right, we need some more water.
I mean, hey, listen, y'all been laying it, so I gotta, you know,
Well,
you know, y'all intellects. I can't just, you know what I mean? Intellectual from your, from all y'all.
I just would say that for me, I think one thing for everybody, especially Black men, and Black people in general, man, we are just more empowered to speak up, right, and really say what's on our mind and call out things that are not right, because you know the pendulum of society has swung to where we, you know, so I guess I always tend towards the good part, right? I'm an optimist, so I like to talk about why this glass is still half full from 2020, right? So for years, a lot of the things that we talked about that we just weren't, we weren't believed, like these people at work is racist, or this policy is systemic, right? And it's a barrier. Like when we call these things out now, we're more likely, right? There's still a huge fight, but we're more likely to be believed and to get some action on some of these things. And then I guess just, you know, conversely, you know, I think collectively a lot of people is just sad too, because, you know, we lost so many good people. We lost a lot of people. Yeah. And you know, especially with you know, with COVID and you know, just being out here, young people. Right, so I think that part of that is just it was a punch in the gut, right? So we're definitely more empowered, right? But also you know, more aware of our mortality. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Is that intellectual enough for you?
That's it. You just took it to school on that one. I think for me, and I just think in general that it's just like it's brought a lot of stuff to light. It just like Khan said, it's made everybody be able to see everything in real time, because everybody's in front of the TV, everybody's sitting there, and we seeing all this stuff, and it even gives you time to do some research and kind of do some soul searching and kind of figure out, okay, I see this is going on, I need to do some homework, I need to learn some more about this. So I'm kind of a guy that's the glass is half full as well, so I think it just makes you think more, and it makes you reflect. And I'm not saying for everybody, but I know for somebody my age, I mean somebody in my position, I got a wife and kids, so I'm thinking at a couple different levels. I know if I'm going through it and I'm grown, then I know my kids is going through it. If they're not in school, they just aren't able to do the normal things they were doing, so I know their world is flipped upside down as well. So just spending more time with them and making sure that that I'm able to check on them and make sure they're good. Things have slowed down a little bit as far as life, because you just can't do all the same stuff. So that I feel like has been a blessing for my family, just to be able to kind of reconnect. Yeah. Because everybody's always going 100 miles an hour, doing so much stuff, and that's a positive. But at the same time, you do want to be able to have that time to come back. So I just think this last year has been crazy. It's been sad. There's been a lot of crazy stuff that's went on. But at the same time, if you try to pull out those positives, I think it can be. I think it can be good.
Thank you.
Man, what's interesting what you just said? Like I was thinking back on the, you know, the bulk of the time when we was all having like quarantine, and so in a lot of those cases, especially relationship-wise, one of two things was happening. You know what I mean?
COVID babies.
Totally, yeah. you know,
Or a lot of men, you ugly.
or you know, as well as there's been a lot of divorces. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of divorces. We spending too much time together. You know what I mean? And everybody's story is different. You know, somebody you like, if y'all gone every day and just come home at the end of the night, you know what I mean? And that's the life that you have for the last 15, 20 years. And now all of a sudden, y'all in each other's face
every day.
all day, every day. They say in Dallas, every day. But I mean, that's, you know, that's real. And so, like, to kind of get back to the question, like, I think it going through this really opened up our eyes to some things, to some things that may have been covered up by our practices that you know, day-to-day life. We didn't know we had problems in this area.
Right.
You know, and now we got to deal with it. You know what I mean? Because now, you know, that's what pressure does, right? You know what I mean? It exposes, you know, the real. And so, you know, we were able to, through this last year, if nothing else, we were able to really see things for what they really are.
Right.
And then we got a decision to make, what we're going to do with the information that we have. You know what I'm saying? You know, so like, for example, I know I'm sharing personal stuff. I'm trying to get y'all to share personal stuff too. But you know, it's not a secret. Like you know, for the last 14, 15 years now, like I've been back and forth so much. You know, we moved to Dallas and you know, had a house built down there. And it's great, but business is here, and you know, so just been traveling so much back and forth, and so it was crazy. Like when the pandemic happened and they shut everything down, I couldn't move around.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I know what
like,
you mean,
and then
yeah.
my wife is in the healthcare, you know, industry, and you know, with private care, and so she couldn't move around. So she couldn't come here, and I didn't want to come there. Put her. So now, you know, ain't no more, you know, these check-in times that we, you know what I mean, which was already difficult.
Right.
You know what I mean,
Right.
to begin with.
Right.
You know what I mean. But now, it's all shut down. You know what I mean. So I'm seeing and hearing people dealing with the fact that they stuck in the house together. You know what I mean, 24/7. Well, I can't get that. You know what I mean. That's a whole nother. Yeah, that's a whole nother. You know what I mean. So, you know, I think that we were all, to answer the question, we were all affected differently. But at the end of the day, for me, at least what I would say is like the real really came to light, and then we got some responsibility to like you were talking, you know, if somebody got an issue and we don't want to, you know, accept the fact that it's, and then we just, you know, play it off and be like, oh man, you ain't got no problem, you know what I mean? If we don't have to be responsible to that.
Yeah.
But the moment that we're aware, we got to be responsible. We got to be accountable, especially for people that we love.
Right.
And for circumstances that, you know, come to light that we really need to change. I see some people stepping to the plate. You know what I mean? And I would hope that, you know, as a race, that we're taking those opportunities. But,
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the black community, right? We all recognize that we have a responsibility to check in on each other now, a lot differently than it used to be, right? Now, as you walk to your local stores, you go walk on your parks, you're looking at the next black man like, good, right? There's a little bit more check-in that's happening, even though our mental mindset is like, we're really hoping that we both get a chance to go home today.
yeah.
Because of the current climate, whether it's law enforcement and things like that. But we're also just doing a mental check-in of like, you good?
Right.
I'm good, right? And I think those are pieces that you can't officially measure, but I think across the country, there are probably a whole lot more black men bonds that are out there that we can actually track. And I say that because if we were all to walk outside right now, 5 black men on the street, 100 cars will stop and go, what they're up to? That must be doing something progressive, right? Something that is going to change the way the world is going, because now everybody recognizes that we have a little bit more stout. We kind of know what we want to happen, and we also know that you don't really care about us as much as we thought you used to, right? So now there's a little bit more accountability amongst the brotherhood, I guess, that is unofficially out there.
I know for me, as far as going through 2020 and just the state, of being black, right? Of seeing all this craziness, all this foolishness that's going on a regular basis, and just being black. I know we wanted to be mad. I was upset to see and watch all that, but at the same time, I was hurt, bro. It's not a good feeling to be in that space, to feel like, and to see it blatantly over and over right in front of you, that people don't value you as a human, and you're getting treated as a certain way, and it weighs on you. And I got to a point where, I couldn't watch it no more. I had to unplug. Yeah. And if you go into this dark space of just being down, you're angry, you're hurt, and it's not a good space. And I guess eventually I had to come out of that, and I had to start talking to people about that and speaking out about it, because it was just getting worse and worse. You know what I'm saying? So, angry. I didn't like anything that I saw, but at the same time I was hurt. And it was tough. It still is tough.
I know I'm not the conductor here, but I want to ask something. Because I saw and kind of tracked that you and Jess, at least one of the marches that you were involved in. What was that discussion like amongst, in the household where you guys made that decision together? We want to get out front.
Right.
You know what I mean? On this issue.
Well, it was just to be a small part of change, or what I felt like was doing my part. Everybody looks differently, everybody has a different role, and everybody got different capacities of what they can do and what they bring to the table. But I know as a family, we felt like that we wanted to be there, and we definitely, I wanted my kids to be a part of that as well. And see that, okay, a group of people, it just wasn't black people at the march, but, it's just a bunch of different races, everybody involved, but to see people coming together to try to bring change and to try to do better. And that's really where we was, man. It wasn't just a thing that was sparing the moment, just with seeing all this stuff, like I said, that we saw on a regular basis. And if I'm going through it, if I'm sad, if I'm hurt, then imagine what the kids are going through as well. So just to bring some kind of fresh air to that, okay, yeah, there is a bunch of people that feel like things aren't going well, and we all on the same page, and we want to see better, and we want it to get better.
Yeah, if we don't, just real quick, if we don't get to a place, there is, in my opinion, there is nothing more important that causes us to be able to feel in the way that we need to feel than necessary empathy. If I can't feel what you're going through, you know what I mean, even though it's not happening to me, then I can't, you know what I mean, I'm not
or even
have
give it a chance.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so for me, it was like, I've had my situations, but, my son is still alive. You know what I mean? But I know somebody whose son is not here anymore.
Right.
And I'm feeling that. You know what I mean? I'm feeling that. And I gotta walk with you because it could be mine.
Right.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
And
how 2020, honestly, I was angry like everybody else. I'm still angry. I was especially angry on, May 30th, right? I think we all were. We saw parts of that video. But like you, Marcus, I really, I can't watch the whole videos all the way through anymore. I told my daughter, in fact, this morning, that I just can't let all of that into my spirit, right? Like, so, and that's one of the reasons, and I'm not, no disrespect to anybody else that watches some of the horror movies, and I just don't like images of people getting killed into my spirit, right? And that's just me, that's the way I was raised. But In fact, I think the last one I really watched the whole thing was the ball in New Orleans with the gold teeth and the officer shot him on the ground, right? And that was the last one that I kind of watched repeatedly. So I was like everybody else, I was pretty angry and upset. But honestly, as 2020 trudged on, I kind of became encouraged because people were out in the streets. And I felt like, maybe we can try to get some real change, and I think, the jury's still out on some of that. I'm encouraged by some of the laws that just got changed and this and that. But I really want to know how we can, I left 2020 kind of just on that type of community note, is how do we take this energy and keep it going without necessarily having to have the anger to fuel it, right? And so I saw some of that here in January and February of 2021. Some of the same people that I saw at multiple rallies, always had a sign, first one saying no justice, no peace, but was unwilling to testify on a Zoom call for a police accountability bill. And I'm like, well, look, we gotta, it's a kind of we have to be able to take that leap. So, and so on a personal note, 2020, it was a real stressful year and that anger, but I kind of tried to channel that into making myself a better person and being able to read, follow up on things more. I saw it more as an opportunity to build relationships with your folks, being at the house all the time, build relationships with your community. I don't think my 2020 was not completely anger, but it was definitely had a whole bottle of hot sauce,
Right.
if you will.
Well, I think, to the March experience, and thanks, Marcus, for maybe kind of talking about how you had a collective family conversation. My wife, Dr. Trufant, Ervin, and my 3 children, we had to have a true dialogue about we are getting ready to walk outside in the city of Tacoma where we feel like we're a little bit relevant, and that as soon as we do that, people are going to go, well, if the Ervins are doing it, then it must be okay. And that was a tough conversation because we had to remind ourselves that we have a responsibility, not only to our family, but also to our peer groups, our social networks, etc. Because at some point, and not at all feeling, boastful, right? But there are some folks who go, if you got it, then we're good. So my time during the rally, though, 90% of it, I was in tears because I knew what folks were really thinking, or I felt what I knew what folks were really thinking, like, this black guy is here. He's walking, he's got his family. He must have everything together. And really, it's the opposite. I'm weak right now. I'm hurt right now because I know that there is a family member who lost somebody. Yeah. And we have to stand here walking along this kind of journey as if change is going to happen. And that was a tough kind of shift to happen. And then as I think about how 2020 has kind of come and gone, I also, had a tough transition on the workplace. We all know Zoom calls come. And guess what? Please turn your camera on. I'm good. Because I felt that if I were to turn my camera on, then the rest of those folks would go, well, that black man is here. Everything's good. So I stayed blank for a while, intentional, so that eventually a discussion could come about to go, hey, Brandon, how come you don't turn your camera on? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I'm still hurt. You might think that business can continue to go on as usual, but it can't. And you haven't even addressed this current climate that's going on. And then I think fast forwarding, I quickly realized that, wait a minute, Brandon, I have a responsibility. I'm not the best marketer, but I think we all know media tells a story. So I knew I had to be present. I had to smile. I had to look good. I had to remind folks that, hey, black men are okay. They can take care of their families. They can lead by example, be employed, et cetera, but also be a leader. And those are things that I feel like I had to continue to carry in out of 2020 into 2021.
That's good.